May 13th, 2013. It is 9 a.m. and I am declaring the the meeting of the Board of Directors of the Venetia Condominium Association to commence. Today we have a quorum present. That would be Sam Z and Sharon Dodge, and Mylene Ibanez from our management is here also. Carlos Martin is present by phone. Hello, Carlos.
Hello.
On the agenda today, we have the proof of notice of meeting. Mylene, have you ascertained that that has been posted appropriately?
Yes, I have.
Okay. We have some new business today concerning, first of all, a new email policy. Carlos, I would like for you to address the issue of the problem we are having with abusive use of email aimed at our management office.
Okay, well, about 99.9% of the email communications that the association's managers and board receives are legitimate unit owners who have legitimate concerns, who use email because it is the most effective and quickest way of communication these days, obviously. The problem with email communication is that because it is such a direct and quick method of communication with people, is that it can be abused. Now, email communications are not a right under the law. They are a privilege. There's nothing in the law that says that you have to communicate by email with anybody at all, whether you're a board, a manager, anyone. If you do, it's out of a convenience. And so, therefore, email is a privilege, and some of the people in your building, a very small minority, have been taking advantage of the good graces of the association's management and board to abuse email as a harassment tool, to the point where the manager finds herself responding to emails half the day. And some of these emails aren't even really emails that are intended, or a lot of them, most of them I would say, intended for any benefit of the association. It's purely to harass. The most recent one that I can recall was from a person challenging the manager as to her illness, and basically calling her out for being sick more days, according to her, than being at work, which we all know isn't true. So this type of nasty harassment of the management needs to end. And since it's a privilege, you're not necessarily allowed to keep the privilege. I suggest the association come up with a method by which they basically remove people from being able to from their emails being received by the management.
Thank you, Carlos. Sam, will you paraphrase what Carlos has just told us on the speaker succinctly about the abuse of email and the use of email and the fact that it is not a legal right of emailers?
Right, I think what Carlos was saying that is using the email process is a privilege, and if it's not going to be used properly, then we have to remove those people who are abusing the email privilege. Therefore, the email should be a constructive method of communication and therefore not abused. So the association, the board, will decide on who's abusing and who's not abusing the system and act accordingly.
And I think we will also follow advice of counsel on that. We're going to direct the email communications for your review, Carlos. I know that you have seen quite a few of these, and I think that we can then make a determination exactly which of these individuals has mounted their use of email to the level of abuse, and then we will remove them. I'd like to make... Go ahead.
Not necessarily just one time, for anyone in the future also who becomes abusive to be removed. And I think simply put, when that happens, you just advise them that they have been suspended, from their use has been revoked, that the association will no longer receive emails from them. They will be automatically put into junk mail, or they will be blocked, whichever method your information technology specialist recommends. And that all their communications from now on must be by certified mail. And that's it.
Thank you, Carlos.
It takes a person a lot more thought. They have to sit down and write something and send it by actual mail. All of a sudden, the insanity that they're spewing on email becomes a little bit more tempered, I think.
Another thing I've noticed since I've looked at some of these emails is that some of them are incoherent. It appears that some unit owners, in fact, may at odd hours, actually be not competent to communicate. And I think
I'll go farther than that and say that maybe they're drunk. Some of them. The ones I've read, personally, in my opinion, it seems like maybe on a couple of occasions someone's been drinking.
I'm afraid it does look like that, yeah. Understood. Carlos, I think I'd like to cut to the chase on this, and I'd like to make the motion that email privileges be withdrawn from unit owners who abuse it with emails aimed at either board or management or attorneys, and that this be an ongoing process, that we not limit to those that have been chronically abusing, but that it become in effect as others perhaps develop this problem.
Is there a second?
And I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We will discuss with our IT the easiest way to facilitate this and put it into effect. The second item under new business are the mold allegations that range from the fact that we have mold to allegations, even though we have no conclusive evidence, of toxic mold or toxic levels of mold in the building. And Carlos, I'd like for you to address for Sam and I the legal issues surrounding mold in general, and then for us in particular.
Okay, well, in general, mold, if it's found, well, let's be more clear. I'm not a mold expert, but I will say this. What I've been told in the past, and from my experience dealing with this, mold is a common problem in South Florida. In fact, there's mold everywhere. The question is whether that mold is toxic mold. That's the question. Okay. Mold by itself is not in itself toxic, and you're going to find it just about anywhere. Outside of that, if toxic mold does exist, and it is in the common elements, our recommendation, generally speaking, to the association is that it's a common risk. Try to find out what caused it, and whatever caused it, fix that source, and then from there, remediate the mold so it doesn't spread because it's a common risk. Okay? If, in fact, the mold is being caused by some sort of negligence by an owner, then try to get that owner to pay for that damage because it's their responsibility. If it's a casualty, submit it to insurance, even though the likelihood is that insurance will not cover mold policies today because of the mold sort of outbreak, if you want to call it that, in the late 90s, mid to late 90s, will have mold exclusion so that they won't cover it. You still submit it just because you should. But ultimately speaking, if there is mold found, it will usually become a common expense unless you can find an owner who's responsible for the cause of the water damage caused by mold. Now, in your particular instance,
Carlos,
that I have is...
Carlos, we're
Hello?
going to recall you. This is a bad connection, and we're going
Okay.
to redial, okay?
Okay. Hello?
Okay, sounds better.
That sounds a lot better, yeah. So where did you last hear me?
You were discussing the fact that insurance does not, in South Florida, cover mold, that mold exclusions apply to almost every insurance policy in South Florida.
Honestly, I haven't seen one that covered. So, so that leaves you responsible for anything that would be a casualty or maintenance issue, and that would leave an individual owner responsible if it's related to negligence. Now, in your particular issue, it's my understanding from working with Marlene about, I want to say December, is that right, Marlene, or January when this gentleman showed up? There was a gentleman by the name of, I believe, it's Esteban Camejo?
That is correct.
Okay. Came down to the association's office and essentially attempted to coerce the association into signing a public adjuster's agreement with him. He is an occupant in the unit. He's not an owner. He claimed there was mold in his unit that was making him sick. He would not allow the association in to inspect the unit. But what he would do is he would agree not to rain fire down the association if they were to sign an exclusive public adjuster contract with him. Obviously, my recommendation to the association is never to give in to shakedown artists. And so we told him basically to go pound sand, but at the same time, he also attempted to determine whether there was quote-unquote toxic mold on that floor and in his unit. He refused to allow us in. We have
Did you just say that he refused to allow us into the unit to test?
Yes, he claimed illness but would not allow us into the unit, yes. And to this day will not allow us into the unit. We made another request as recently as the end of last month, and he still would not allow us into the unit.
Okay, Mylene, I believe that we immediately responded by bringing a laboratory tester, not an insurance adjuster tester, but a laboratory tester who evaluated a number of common areas, including outside of this gentleman's unit, and we obtained results that showed no dangerous levels of mold. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Nonetheless, we're extremely concerned about a rising tide of concerns from unit owners. Obviously, we don't have any desire whatsoever to cover up any actual health-causing condition. So I think it makes a lot of sense, since there are many other unit owners who seem to be following this gentleman, Esteban, in creating a lot of discussion and alarms about the possibility of toxic mold that we are, I've heard, allegedly, supposedly trying to cover up. That we need to make testing available to any unit owner who has concerns about their unit that may be related to association neglect. And I think we should probably, as a board, consider utilizing the association resources as a one-time expenditure to provide comprehensive, complete mold testing to any unit owner who feels they have concerns.
That would be a very prudent course of action.
Thank you. Sam, do you have anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, I think it is. We should take a responsible measure at something that could escalate, and I think it's prudent that we get in front of it, like Sharon has suggested. And if this requires a special assessment, so be it. But I think the unit owners will think twice before making frivolous accusations. When you do propose the idea that there will be a special assessment for this special, I guess, this special occasion. So I think it's a great idea on Sharon's part to really get our arms around the problem before the problem gets the arms around us.
Thank you very much, Sam. I'd like to make the motion that we announce this opportunity to unit owners, along with the responsibility of payment as an association for any costs that result from this. Initially, phase 1 would be comprehensive testing. I propose that we pass an agreement to provide for funding for this this process, and that Mylene, you get 3 bids and we take a look at getting it going. Second that?
I second that.
All right, motion carries. We are going to test any unit that any unit owner has concerns about. This does mean that there will be a special one-time assessment to pay for this. And if the association finds that we have any responsibility for any part of any significant, toxic, life-threatening, life-infringing matter, we will, as an association, assume financial responsibility for that. And I would advise that that will probably mean a second special assessment. This is truly a one-time event. It's not part of our budget.
Can I make a recommendation as well, Sharon? It's up to you guys whether you want to consider it.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, a lot of these mold issues generally tend to revolve around an individual maintenance leak from a member of your association. In other words, you got someone who hasn't been maintaining their bathroom, and there's a slow leak of water that's causing ultimately the mold, if there is. You may want to consider also alongside hand in hand with this a unit inspection program to determine if there are any leaks so that the owners responsible for them can make the repairs. Or you would basically plan out over a certain number of months entry into each unit in the building by your maintenance staff to just inspect to see if there's any leakage.
That's a terrific idea, Carlos.
That may also help with your water bill.
Absolutely. I don't know that if I've discussed it in a board meeting, but many, many years ago, I was a little too busy to attend to a running toilet. That is the little, not very expensive valve that shuts off the tank, ran, and I found many years ago in Seattle, where water was extremely cheap, I found that I spent over $500 in 1 month on top of my usual water bill for that one little leak. I know we have running toilets here. I've walked into units that are available for sale and heard them, and have personally spoken to unit owners. I think we should probably go ahead and address this. I think we should deal with this problem today in full. I make the motion that we institute a schedule of regular 100% comprehensive unit owner inspections that would address all maintenance issues of unit owners or the association in such a way that they can be dealt with immediately.
I second that motion.
Motion carries. We're going to create a schedule of 100% unit owner unit inspection, and we will be looking to unit owners and renters to cooperate with us in this. I'm going to open the discussion today for a couple other matters that have come up that are causing considerable concern. We're having a lot of problem with vandalism on our new hallways. There are clear indications that people are scratching the new paint with keys. There are clear indications that they are splattering blue paint, in one case, all over the newly painted elevator landing. Another unit owner or owners disturbed scattering the brand new tiles that were installed all over the floor, so that they had to be reset because they were not yet fully dried. This is just so disturbing to us, given the degree of huge effort it has taken to be able to accomplish, for the first time since 1980, a renovation of our interior hallways. I make the motion today that we proceed immediately with the installation of cameras, and that we begin, this is our word today, comprehensive rules enforcement. That would be pet rules, vandalism, fining, and really holding our unit owners and renters to a standard that will protect our common investment.
And I second that motion.
Motion carries. We are going to have the responsibility, Carlos, of rules enforcement, renter and owner screening, regular security review of cameras, and consequences for deliberate destructive activity.
Okay, I'll take care of that.
Thank you. Anything else on your mind, Sam?
No, not really.
This is the end of the meeting, and it is now adjourned. Thank you very much.